In this video, we're going to be putting back together Charlie, the plow truck with a piston skirt that decided to disintegrate. Customer decided for a full rebuild, so we're going to be pulling a couple rod caps, pulling some liners, as well as installing liners and pistons. Hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, Josh with the Update Channel, and it is Snowmageddon, Snowpocalypse, snow something. It's really snowing today. I think we're supposed to get a foot, something like that. Anyway, I'm cold, so we're gonna be pulling liners on Charlie today, and then I've also got a tool to install the liners instead of the normal liner pushdown bar. So let's get to work.
So this is the state of the engine, basically where we left off. Number 2 piston is removed. Number 1 and all the other ones are, pistons are still in them. Liner's still in number 2 though. And you can see that the skirt disintegrated. You can check out my previous video to learn some more about it. Now this is the normal tool that pulls the cylinder packs that I'm used to using. And the C-12 and C-13s use 130 millimeter bore size. But Viver, this company here, which I've used their tool before, they sent me this air jack, which is a pretty nice jack. Full disclosure, they are paying me to review this product, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do a dishonest review on it. I'm going to be trying their liner puller as well. So first thing we need to do is rotate, and we're going to pull number 3 and 4 cylinder packs. So going to rotate it. I'll speed it up here so we're not here all day. But basically you need to get the cylinder, not the cylinder, but the pistons at bottom dead center. Pull the caps before you can pull the cylinder packs. Now, what's the difference between a cylinder pack and just pulling liners? Well, a cylinder pack is the piston and the liner removed at once, and the cap tool does that. We're going to see how the Viver tool works. So, first thing is always pulling the caps, and I've already pulled all the piston cooling jets. You always want to do that. Make sure they're not damaged. Take a look at the rod bearings. They look pretty good. Whoever owns this engine took pretty good care of it. So here we are going to use the cat one, 130 millimeter. Now the problem with this tool is it is very specific to the liner size. And the first thing you have to do is run that inner nut down. Now normally, cat makes this super long socket here. It's an 1.1 inch super deep socket for doing this. But you put this tool in there, it expands out and it seals the cylinder. And then you put a puller on it, and it should pull the liner and the piston assembly out at once. Now you don't need to hammer on it for half an hour with the impact. You just need to get it tight, and after you've used it several times, you'll figure out what that means. Now, I always oil the threads and all the surfaces when I'm doing anything like this, because if you don't do that, it can gall the threads on the tool, on the nut, damage the tooling. I've used molybdenum paste and anti-seize in the past, and I've got to say engine oil seems to work the easiest. It's easier to clean off. It just seems to do a better job. Now watch the liner. Hopefully it pulls right out. And usually C-12s do because they only have a single liner O-ring. Now remember, this is the cat tool. So yeah, it pulled right out. That's pretty standard. So once you get this off, you can get the puller back off. And then you basically got to man up and pull that sucker out. Now it is very heavy with the liner and the piston assembly. And the C-12s are a lot lighter than the C-15s, but there's also a puller for the C-15s like this. And let's just say it's a very heavy assembly. If you got back problems or something, you might want to just use a normal liner puller like this one and pull the piston assemblies. Now this one, as you can see, it's not solid rubber, it's pretty much all steel. And it does have this handle, which the other one doesn't have. I'm not sure if you need the handle, but we'll try it with the handle, see what it's like. And basically, it's the same style tool, except this one has a huge range of liner sizes. So it says it can go from 5 to 5.75 inch bore, which means this would fit a C-15, it would fit the C-12, it would fit the C-13. It would also fit a lot of the Cummins, and this is specifically for Detroit's, but I wanted to see if it would work on a cat. So Now what I don't know is if it will pull the piston with the liner. So we're going to try that. If it doesn't, I'm not sure if there'd be a way to seal the bottom and pull it as an assembly. Because specifically this is called a liner puller, not a cylinder pack puller. The other one's a cylinder pack puller, the cat one. But let's see what it does. So just like the cat one, I'm going to lubricate the threads with oil. Now this one, it has that handle, which the cat one doesn't have. It also has a roller bearing that goes between the nut and the puller, so it's not just relying on oil between the washers. It's actually got a bearing, which is pretty nice. This is a pretty well-made tool, and considerably less than the cat liner puller. A lot more universal too, but I don't know, like I said, if it's going to work as far as if you can pull the entire pack out. I don't think it will, but we're going to try it because the pack puller seals the cylinder, whereas this one has these 4 pieces of steel blocks with it. And if it doesn't seal that cylinder, I think the piston's going to stay on the crankshaft. So I'll put a link in the description for this. Like I said, they are compensating me for doing this review, but that doesn't mean the review is biased. I'll tell you if there's any problems with it. So here we go. Let's see if it pulls the liner and hopefully the connecting rod out. Now you may notice that I'm not impacting it like I did the other one with an impact wrench, and this is a new tool to me. I'm not familiar with it. I know on the other ones I've used them many times with impacts with no damage. I don't want to run an impact on this and see. I want to use it by hand and get a feel for it. It's well made though. I don't think there'd be a problem, but just try it. So let's see what happens here. Now I'm going to use this handle. You don't need the handle, obviously. It would be a lot lighter if I pulled the H-bar style puller off also and then put the handle on it. Now it also has this retaining pin. I don't exactly know what that's for because the handle threads into the all thread. So I'm not sure, but here we go. Let's see. Up. No connecting rod. Now at first when I was first using this, I thought it was a pack puller, so I thought, yeah, I was like, what the heck? Why is the piston in the cylinders? Now that'll be harder to get out. But then I realized really that it's not going to seal the cylinder like the full rubber one. So, and it doesn't say it's a cylinder pack puller. It says it's a liner puller in the literature. And now we're going to do is use it as just a liner puller and see how it works. I mean, it did pull the liner fine. And I think, with some ingenuity, you could probably get that top portion to seal off. If you possibly, what I was thinking is, if you put a large rubber plug in the bottom of this, that would hold suction, I believe, against the liner and the piston. And hopefully, you could use it as a cylinder pack puller if you needed to, but just using it as it's intended as a liner puller, it seems to be working just fine. So, haven't used this tool. I would say it's a pretty nice tool. If you're looking for just a liner puller, fairly inexpensive, check out the link. Now, I have a question for you guys. Do you like when I edit out the shop noise, or do you like all the shop noise in the background of the videos? Sometimes I go either or. So, got the liners out. Let's get on to the next step.
Still snowing, folks. So we got all our cylinder liners out. That was interesting to use both tools. Wonder how much snow we're gonna get. We're probably at, I'm gonna guess 8 inches right now. So now we gotta install the new liner.
So this is the state of the engine now. We've have all the liners out, all the pistons out. I've cleaned the deck by scraping and then wiping it down with some mineral spirits and flat sanding it just a little bit. The milling marks are still there. I've cleaned out the head bolt holes also. And the milling marks are these lines running this way. It's good if an engine's not destroyed by having the milling marks. This week's destruction of the week, we actually have 2 of them. This first one is from Ryan. This is a C-12, which is basically a V12 version of a 3406. And I heard in Australia it's called throwing a leg out of bed instead of throwing a rod out of the block, but just thought that was funny. The next one is from Alan, not an engine. This is a transmission. Well, parts of it. Pressure plate, input shaft all snapped in half. Pretty bad day for this clutch assembly there, folks. Thanks for the pictures, guys. Let's get back to work. Now, if you're an astute observer, you might notice that I had a blue toolbox before, and now I have an orange one. Might be why the Snap-on guy was here. Anyway, so what we're doing now is we are going to check that the deck is flat and straight. So what we're going to be doing, and I've had videos on this before, but we're going to use a straight edge and a 2/1000 feeler gauge. CAT specification is 2/1000 over a 6-inch area, or 4/1000 over the span of the deck. I use a 2/1000 over the span of the deck just because I like to have a little bit higher tolerances on these blocks than CAT requires. So it's all been cleaned, and obviously you can't really do this properly if the liners are installed. So since they are not installed, we're checking it now. And I've never had one be off on a CAT, but it's always good to check. So here is our new liner on my new toolbox, and this is the tool we're going to be using. It's from Monaco Tool. They are made in Oregon. Very nice tool. They're not paying me to say this, but I use a lot of their tools, and they are very nice. This is for C-12s. And like I said, C-12s have a single liner, and it's actually a flat band. It's not technically an O-ring. And what we're going to be doing is putting the liner and then the rod cap on as an assembly. I've engraved these already. They don't come engraved. Now notice the rod bearings have these holes in them. They're on the upper and the lower. We also need to put moly paste on the bolt threads and under the head. The old bearings on the rods did not have those holes, and I checked and they're the correct bearings. Not sure why they have that. That's my air engraver. Now what I'm going to be using is some tire soap, Ruglide specifically, or rubber lubricant. And I started using this tire soap swab and this red tire soap bucket for the liner seals. I used to put it on by hand, but we wear these cut resistant gloves now, and it's kind of a pain. So here's where the liner seal sits. You need to clean that area off as best you can. So here's us swabbing the deck. Well, actually the liner seal area, not the deck, but I find this does a really, really good job. It keeps my hands from getting the liner paste all over it, or the lubricant. You can see our bearings already been installed and lubricated. I also started using an acid brush to install the oil on the bearings, so I'm not using my hands anymore. And ready to go. So we put that liner assembly tire soap on the liner seal and in the liner seal area in the block. Now these are tricky. So they sit recessed in the deck. So what you have to do is basically set it in as far as you can, and then when there's just a little bit above, you basically have to let go of it, or it could rip part of your glove off and fall into the block. So right there. There was about a little bit less than an inch before it contacted the liner seal. And basically what you got to do is get it as close as you can and then just roll your hands away as fast as possible. I've tried to run it, like go all the way in, and usually it'll catch my gloves and then rip off parts of the glove into the block, and you don't want to do that. So you kind of have to do that process where you get it as close as you can and then roll your hands away. So this is the Monaco tool. Like I said, I'll put a link for their tool or their website on there. Like I said, they are not paying me though, but I really do enjoy their tools. So this is a liner press. This is not a CAT specific tool, and I'm always use a drill on the puller part because I don't want to impact it. But the CAT tooling is actually just like a big pry bar that uses a head bolt and you just force it in there. This tool helps seat it and center it, so I like it a lot more, and it seems a little less caveman science technology. So that's all done. We are now going to pull the rod down onto the rod journal like that. And the bearing tabs are facing the right side of the engine, which is the piston cooling jet side of the engine, and the alignment pins are forward. Means the two alignment pins are facing the front of the engine. So we are doing number 1 here. Now, I gotta apologize for the lighting here. I'm under an engine, folks, so pain in the butt. You can see the tab there. That tab needs to face the right side of the engine, and the alignment holes need to line up with the ones on the rod. So yeah, I do apologize for the lighting. I have a headlamp on, and I'm under an engine, so it's really hard to get good lighting while I'm doing this. But I wanted to do an experiment. So basically, I have a snap-on torque angle torque wrench, and I don't trust the torque angle. At least I've found when I'm underneath a vehicle trying to use it with torque angle, it's not accurate. So what we're going to do is a little experiment, and let's see. So 95 foot-pounds plus 1/6 of a turn, 60 degrees, which is 1 flat on a bolt, because bolts are 6-sided. 360 degrees divided by 60 is 6. So what we're going to do is torque them, 95, and then I'm going to check them again. Now, obviously, all you're seeing is the socket, but I am torquing them. And this torque wrench is fairly new. It's a few months old. And if you can see, I've got little lines on this bolt. Guess what? They're every 60 degrees. So what I do is generally, I'll put a little mark. Well, first I stripe them because I already torqued them. But now we have to torque turn them. And now what I'll do is I'll put the bolt up, or not the bolt, I'll put the socket up, and then I'll mark it where one of the lines is on the socket to the rod. And then I'll move it over and do the same thing. I used to do this when it was on the torque wrench, but I found it's a lot easier this way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to torque turn it. This is my new snap-on torque wrench. Well, it's not new. I got it over the summer, but 60 foot-pounds, or 60 degrees. Now notice the little line there in relation to the rod. That means the next line has to align with the arrow specifically. Now I'm not going to move the arrow. So is it going to line up? Listen for the beep and where the line is. No. No, it didn't line up. Look at that. We're like 10 degrees off. That is not insignificant. This torque wrench is...
Thing sucks!
Yeah. These are not cheap torque wrenches. I don't know what's going on, if it's because I'm laying under it or because I have to use an extension to get to it. I don't know, but it's not accurate. So basically, I don't use it for torque angle anymore when I'm underneath something. I have used it on head bolts and stuff that have torque angle, and it seems accurate there. But underneath stuff, I've had really bad luck with it. So I also check it on the other one, and it does the same. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will leave you with this. I am not trusting that.